Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Thijs and welcome to Dual Wielded. In this video I'm going to show you my design process when it comes to designing an enemy for my game. The enemy in my game being this rocky dinosaur creature. Oh, and by the way, by designing I mean visualizing, you know, from idea to sketching to final product as a sprite. There are a couple of things that I have to think about before sketching an enemy. The first and most obvious thing is that it has to be an organism that lives in the world you create for your game. My game takes place in a mysterious world where no humans live. Instead, the world is full of monster-like creatures. So I already have 3 enemies designed, of which one is actually already fully functioning in the game. All of those 3 enemies are from the same species, with the original design being this pale-looking scary creature. I took this idea from a game called Volgar the Viking. In that game, every enemy has 3 different difficulty levels displayed by its color. Pretty much all the difference in difficulty means in that game is the amount of health the enemy has. I want my game to have a more realistic approach to this, so I gave the different colored enemies different abilities, instead of just having different amounts of health. This pale one is one of those, look at me, I have only 5 IQ points type of enemies. They just walk around ignoring the player until they can't move on because of either a ledge or a wall. You won't believe what they do when this happens. Look. Oh my god, they turn around! So this more fleshy skin colored enemy does the exact same, but it has a field of vision. When the player gets in that field of vision, the enemy spits a projectile towards the player. The last, darker colored enemy also just walks around until the player gets into its field of vision. When this happens, the enemy starts sprinting directly towards the player. Now I thought of an enemy that could make for interesting gameplay, the famous enemy that can only be hit from behind. Now what would a creature with that ability look like? I personally thought of a spiky creature that misses spikes around its butt area, so that you can tap those cheeks without getting hurt by spikes. After coming up with a weird sketch that I didn't like, I started making the creature have more of a rocky body than a spiky one. So this is what I came up with. While designing the creature, I took a little bit of the inspiration from the rhino type enemy from Ori and the Blind Forest, but I gave it my own twist and I made it into a bulkier and a heavier enemy. Now that the sketch is done, let's turn it into a pixel art. So basically what I do is I create another Photoshop file, make it 128 by 128 pixels, because that is the size that I used for everything else in my game. If you make a game with a pixel art style, it's best if all the sprites in your game have the same size of pixels. Things like this monster skeleton look out of place, because its pixels diverge from the pixels that surround it. I'm going to have to fix this later. I copy and paste the sketch into the 128 by 128 frame, and resize it so that it fits the frame. What? Exactly as planned. Well, I knew this was going to happen, so I'm going to have to add another layer and redraw the drawing over the weirdly cropped one. After doing this, I realized that the enemy would turn out small in the game because it's not making full use of the entire frame. This didn't really fit the rocky type of creature, so I redrew it again. Now that the drawing was finally done in pixel art, I could start coloring it. I wanted him to have green, grayish colors to make it look like this creature gets mossy over time. I also changed the tail because I thought a tail like a lion tail would not fit this fella. So instead I made it into a big rock that sticks out. I used a big green brush with a low opacity to make the rocks mossy. I made sure to add shadows and some lighter parts of the body. It should be obvious to the player that you can only hit him from behind. I wondered what would be the best way to display this, since it would not really make sense to make that part of the body look soft for this creature. I eventually made it so that it's a mossy area. Wait, now that I think about it, that must mean that it's a moisty area as well. To make this less weird, I added moss to other parts of the body as well. They're done. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I hope it's clear that you can hit it from the back. Maybe it's not easy enough to see. What do you guys think? Is it clear enough, or should I add a bullseye to his thick butt? If you vote for the last one and have a good idea on how to make it more clear, it would be awesome if you could comment your idea down below. You can also join the Dual Wielded Discord in the description. In it you can leave ideas for future videos, chat with me about game stuff, as well as chat with others who are into game design. I wasn't sure if I was going to add the whole process of animating the enemy as well as putting it into the game and making it work by coding it in this video. It would be cool to make one video in which I create an enemy from scratch and by the end of the video having it working in the game, but I'm not sure about it yet. This would take a lot of time. Since my first devlog, I started gaining my first 3 subscribers. I know it says 4, but let me tell you a secret. My first subscriber was me. Yeah, this all sounds kind of sad, but it's actually really motivating for me. You know, making these videos takes a good amount of time. Time I could have used to animate this enemy, for instance. Even a few people showing interest in my game helps me create more videos to show you guys part of my journey of making this game happen. Thank you guys for the support and thanks for watching.